Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Overthinkers Society with Sue Lee. It's me, Sue. Sue, 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 Sue. Sue. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this little thing where I pretend that I'm talking to an old friend over the phone, talking about my little life crises, cutesy little things about depression and crippling anxiety. Well, this is a cute place. It's a little cutesy place. Welcome to this cutesy area where I just talk. Hello, good friend. It's been a while, hasn't it? I quite like this phone call concept. It doesn't feel like a concept actually, because it came from a very organic and also somewhat lazy place where it's like, God, I really like podcasting and I really like talking and sharing my thoughts on specific events or just whatever things that I got going on. But also, I'm I'm too lazy to set up my computer, set up a microphone, and like an official camera, whatever official means. Or it was just like the steps that I need to be taking in order to get that recording done has always been like a little bit too much. And then I was recently like, you know what? Who cares? Technology has advanced to a point where phone microphones are pretty decent. Sounds pretty good. Also, there's something very instant, like it's very instantaneous. And like obviously in this context, I have briefly like set up my my shitty spare iPhone camera and I had to hit record button and stuff, but everything else is very, very organic. And I woke up and I decided that I had something that I wanted to share with you who's putting your ears against this in ears and speakers and such in your cars and such for some reason to channel into some random ass girl on the internet talking about life. There's something instantaneous about it, and I personally feel like that actually has been what's missing in this podcast for me personally as a creator. I think I've always, like, I am obviously still very much of an overthinker, but there's something very like rigid about, okay, I sit down and I consciously make myself overthink. It's like this weird thing where I started this podcast in order to maybe in some way or another like find some value out of my natural overthinking tendencies. Or I just wanted to like have an outlet, outside of like traditional therapy. I've never liked therapy because, except for like a very small number of people who are therapists out there, all the other people seem to be just like approaching it from a very clinical, rigid perspective. And it's never really like it's never really sat well for me. So yeah, this podcast was a way for me to maybe explore into like a therapy alternative, But I think the reason why it never really stuck with me was because actually for the same reasons I think traditional like sitting down with a counselor therapy can be a little bit jarring and forced. It feels a little forced at times Because when we have feelings that are problematic arise, those are usually hours that nothing is really operating around you. Like, I don't know, like, or maybe it's just not the most convenient time. Like when we have the most problematic anxiety attacks or panic attacks, or we have this severe case of depressive episode that just completely makes me like turns into a veggie for the whole day or more. Like those things happen at times we least expect it, you know? It's never like, and for us to like just, oh, Zoe's about to bark. Dilly's about to bark. Shh, shh, no, shh. This is going to be some problems that's going to be arising during this episode, because I've got two doggies next to me. Staring outside the window intently with the intention to bark at something or nothing or anything really. Okay. I think the biggest issue for me with traditional therapy, or like, oh, Zoe. Okay. Zoe just barked. I think the problem with traditional therapy for me personally has always been the fact that it doesn't capture the intensity of whatever problematic feelings that we struggle with emphasis. Like it doesn't feel as intense. Like when we're having an anxiety attack, it's usually the case that we have to let it pass and have to talk about it in hindsight in therapy session, right? We keep having to just kind of keep record of all these little problematic moments and then bring it up at this like set date and time in front of this professional. And I think that's something that I almost feel like it's counter effective in a way, because your feelings are your feelings at the time of you feeling it, if that makes any sense. Like you will never feel the same feeling, or will be able to kind of replicate or even describe with words how you exactly felt in that moment of feeling it. Nor will feel the same level of like intensity of it when you're just kind of recalling it from memory. Or like, I mean, that's kind of an analogy for me to like describe how this podcast for me, like this, I mean, this is, I just realized it's like a very roundabout way of me getting to this point where I talk about this like little phone call format that I'm just trying out. It has this strange, like I just get this gut feeling that it could stick. It's a format that could stick because I think this was what I was missing in this podcast, and my mission to kind of somewhat in a healthy way deal with my overthinking tendency, that it was never instantaneous as this. You know, it was always like, for somewhere along the way, I kind of turned it into a like a work thing. Like, oh, it's an obligation that I need to sit down every week or every whatever, however many days, and I need to talk about something because it's a podcast. Whereas this feels right. This feels very on point because I can genuinely like share. I feel like just the gesture of like this being, you know what? It's like a phone call. It is a phone call in a way because I'm holding my phone and I'm talking into it. I'm recording through it. And just the gesture of that kind of instantaneous phone call with a friend thing is, I think there's something very powerful about it. How it kind of almost turns off that overthinking switch. And this is casual. Set up a camera, boom, I sit on the couch and I just ramble on like I am right now. So yeah, maybe this is the secret sauce that's been missing. Today is Thanksgiving. Today is Thanksgiving Day in America. So I have got this house for myself for the whole day with the doggies because my roommates are out for the whole day visiting their family and having turkeys. I believe you have turkeys and the gravies and the what do you have on Thanksgiving? I only know turkey, but I'm not sure if there's any other food that people enjoy just on Thanksgiving. Just on Thanksgiving. It's a weird thing. It's a weird holiday that I don't know anything about. Something a little bit lonely about it too, though, where everybody's kind of having their little festive gathering, celebration. We know the drill. We've spent Thanksgiving multiple times at this point to know what to do, what the protocols are. And I'm like, so it's just like I don't get to join in on anything, right? Because I'm not like really your family or anything, right? but would you like let me have some of your turkey, or like let me hang out with you, or no, that's too much. Oh, maybe that's too much. No, sorry, I'll just stay at home alone. That's how I feel. It's a little lonely. It's a little lonely when it's always lonely, like I've spent kind of like major holidays, international and national, yes, alone by myself. I've spent my birthday alone. I have spent a Christmas alone. I have spent, today, Thanksgiving alone. I believe like other little holidays I've spent alone, but I think Christmas and my birthday was like a big one. It just felt significant, that I was, damn, I'm really alone on this day, It's a weird, lonely feeling when you are spending this one day that's like, if you think about it, it's no different than other days, except that you are aware that there are people and the majority of the people around you are spending time with their loved ones and their families. I think that's what gets me the most, like, or anybody who happens to be spending a holiday alone. It's just the idea. It's not so much that, I don't get to like hang some things on the trees. Oh, I don't get to eat the turkeys. Oh, I don't get to pop open the gifts with the peoples. Oh, I don't get to have gifts in general. I mean, those are great, but those are fun, festive activities, I guess. But I think at the core of it all, it's more of the idea that everybody around me is together and I am just me. I am alone. Yeah. But I'm okay. I think it's just I think it's one of those things where I feel like, societally speaking, spending Christmas alone or Thanksgiving alone. I don't know if Thanksgiving, spending Thanksgiving alone holds as much weight as like spending Christmas alone or birthdays alone or whatever. But I think, sorry, my neck is like feeling very dry. It feels like I'm squeezing up a desert to make sounds right now. Sorry. What was I saying? Thanksgiving alone. Oh yes. Basically, I'm the kind of person who is kind of aware that spending these holidays alone is deemed as like, oh, yeah, she or he or they are alone on Thanksgiving, alone on Christmas, alone on her birthday. Damn, that's rough. I feel like that's kind of the perception that society holds, and I feel like I'm aware of it. But also, I don't care. And also, I find it a little sad that I don't care. It's like a double thing, double whatever. It's like on top of that, on that. Could that be considered meta? Maybe? I'm not sure. Yep, I can't feel my soul. I'm joking. Actually, I'm kidding. I lied. I have committed liance. I actually have never felt my soul more intensely than I do now. Like, I feel it too much. I recently had this weird incident happen to me, and it's weird because it's like there's no story to it whatsoever on the surface. Like, it's weird. It was a breakthrough that wasn't like dramatic at all in any way whatsoever, like not even loosely, like, because I feel like basically my point is I had a breakthrough. I had a breakthrough recently. I don't know if this is like something that is as heavy as what people call like enlightenment. Because yeah, that feels way too dramatic for what I experienced. Because if it was enlightenment that I felt that I had, I feel like I wouldn't be here. Or I don't know. Yeah, because if I have enlightenment, would I be in the mountains, like having shaven off my hair and everything? Like, is that what I would? Anyway, it was definitely like a very critical moment. Enlightenment or breakthrough or whatever it is. And it all happened with a binge. Yes, a classic beginning of a story. It all happened with a nice good old session of stress eating. Stress eating my ass off. I don't recall what it was that caused this stress eating episode. I really cannot recall, but I was very like stressed. I was feeling, you know what? I think it was just, I felt very uncontrollable in general that day. I felt like uncontrollably lonely. I felt uncontrollably ravenous and I couldn't stop shoving food down my throat. I felt very like, I felt like an animal almost. And I have those days happen. Um, and it was just that day as well. It was just another day of like feeling uncontrollable. And it's a very not so good thing to experience. It's like you hate yourself, but you can't stop doing what you hate. What makes you hate yourself? Anyways, yes, I was having this very intense episode of stress eating, and I'm just numbed out afterwards. I can't feel I can't feel anything but the grotesquely bloated tummy of mine, and it's I'm telling you, I've never been like it's I'm just speechless by the mere thought of like looking back to the physical state that I was at. It was just grotesque, and nobody has ever been unfortunate enough to have witnessed it in person. And I was also very like self-conscious, and I knew I was respectful for other people enough to not ever like see anyone when I'm in that state, and have someone go through such having to see such a sight. Anyway, I look like 9 months pregnant from food, and I'm just like lying on my bed in the least triggering position, where like, you know, I'm just kind of like doing a little like weird contortion where I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I feel like I feel sick, and I need to find the right position to like make myself the least sick. So I was like sitting on my bed in this very like kind of like you would see it and like, yeah, she's really let herself. If somebody saw me in that state, looking like 7 months pregnant from food, and like in this weird ass, creepy ass, grotesque position, holding onto my belly with a grimace on my face at like 2 a.m. in my bed, you would think like, damn, she's really let herself go, hasn't she? Um, it was miserable. I was miserable, and as I was laying there in my goblin pose, I start going into this little thought spiral. And it began with just this excruciating realization that history was repeating itself for me. It was like this very intense feeling of deja vu. And technically, it wasn't a deja vu, because that moment had very similar moments like that had happened multiple times in my life, where I was feeling lonely or stressed or just uncontrollable about myself and my life, and ending up in a very miserable position, full as fuck, in my bed. That event has happened way too many times, and just that moment was kind of like this very, very, very kind of exasperating. Is that a word? Is that how the word is? Exasperating moment where I realize no matter how much I have tried to become a better person, no matter how much I've tried to work on self-love or self-discipline, read books, practice mindfulness, practice meditation, do what other people, all the professionals, so no matter all these years of struggling and all these years of just trying to avoid or not avoid, but all these years of trying to prevent my next episode like this happen, it still happens. Sorry, the dog's barking. Zoe, stop. Shh. History was repeating its... Okay, Zoe's quieted down, calmed down a little bit. So yes, yeah, I laid there and was feeling just miserable and hopeless about how history was repeating itself for me countless times, and I'm just losing hope. I'm just losing hope that it's never gonna change. I'll keep on having this happen. I'll keep on feeling uncontrollable. And then I stopped myself again and realized, okay, but am I me? Am I this pain that I'm experiencing? And I'm I just really hope I don't come across as sounding just weirdly woo-woo and just I don't know, I'm crazy. I'm on some kind of something. No, that was the thought process I was experiencing. And it was just I was asking myself, am I my pain? Am I this misery? Am I this feeling of this kind of goblin monster animal who has no control over her frontal lobe, her prefrontal cortex, all the cortexes, all the pre's, all the cortexes, all the brain parts that give us discipline or whatever, muscle control. Am I this people pleaser that I always claim myself to be and suffers from it? Am I really this? Am I a cat person? Am I this cat person that I say that I am? Am I this dog person that I say that I've changed into becoming who I am? Am I what I perceive myself to be? And I think the very critical question that followed was this: am I, if I'm not any of the things that I've just listed, am I at least this person who's questioning myself, all these things? And that moment, that one last question was not so much the verbal utterance of it, but more so in the way that I emotionally perceived it. At that moment was, for the first time, I really felt this weird separation between humanity and like what makes us human, all these emotions, giving into temptations, giving into all of our animalistic instincts or emotions that we struggle with, depression, loneliness. For once, I was able to just look at it from this separated position. And it wasn't like I don't even want to like, it's not even a visual thing, like, right? Because if you think about it, if you were somebody who was just like watching me across for some odd, creepy reason, watching me go through all this like little breakthrough in my room, I'm literally just still in my contortionist goblin mode, pregnant 9 months pose in my bed, right? It's not like it's not like a visually stunning thing that I'm experiencing right now where like I'm having like this enlightened spirit like come out of my brain or my body and just like me performing this like fancy ass astral projection where like you can see the spirit like hovering. No, it was all internal. It felt, but it was all technically physically internal, but it didn't feel internal at all. It felt like I was onto something. It was I um I don't know. I think it just suddenly gave me this perspective that I'm not me. I'm not who I think I am. Yeah, I'm not who other people think I am. I'm not who my mom thinks I am. I'm not who my friends think I am. I'm probably also not who you guys think I am. But also I'm not who I think I am. Like, what is that? What's the point of defining me? Like, if I'm like a different person with the people, depending on the people that I interact with, depending on my life circumstances, my environment, my state of mind, state of being. Like, what's the point of trying to define myself if I'm never the same person ever anyway? I think this was all like in theory. I always knew, I always knew that, oh, of course, I always like to say that, like I always was aware of this little like philosophy that I held with myself when it comes to, how I act around people, how I behave around people. It really just depends on the people because, that's what chemistry is. Um, that's just how we are. We never really behave the same way ever. I knew that. I already knew that in theory, but to extend that idea and to realize I can use this concept if it's true that I'm never me, if it's true that I'm never the same person, then why do I choose to associate myself as a lonely person, as a stressed out person? Because you see, because I think it's a big, like you would know, like all of my songs, all of my work the the topic that I cover the most in, little interviews or this podcast or in my daily conversations with other people really revolves around how much I'm depressed, how much I'm anxious, how much I just never really know what the fuck I'm doing and always being confused and lonely. And I think at some point that I kind of held on to that identity so tightly to a point where it became like a default state of myself. You know how people say like this notion of getting comfortable with feeling depressed. There's this whole thing about how there's this weird like I feel like I keep saying there's this weird, it's all weird. Um, this weird juxtaposition about how how much people with depression suffer from depression, and yet there's this element. Of course, it doesn't it doesn't explain, and it doesn't it's not accountable. It doesn't hold accountability as to like explaining why anybody is ever depressed fully, but there's definitely a contributing element when somebody's identity has depression so deeply ingrained that they just don't know how to get out of it. They just find comfort in this state of being. They get used to it. And I think they get dismissive, and that includes me. I got dismissive about the fact that I am depressed. I am a depressed addict. Like I don't like being depressed. I don't like feeling out of control. But that's what humans are. If you let yourself, we are animals in that sense. If we let ourselves believe something for long enough, that will just become a part of us. That will just become a default part of us. We have this double-edged sword called willful thinking, I guess, where we have this ability to brainwash ourselves. And yeah, you can brainwash yourself into loving exercise and being active and eating healthy. You can exercise, you can train yourself to love and be a better version of yourself, but sometimes you can brainwash yourself into something that can potentially destroy you. And that moment was when I realized that I had brainwashed myself. The sudden moment of I was in a haze, and now I know. Like I was in a haze of being brainwashed. Now I know that I have been brainwashed. I have brainwashed myself. And I'm not a depressed person. I'm not anything. Or I'm not anything that I don't want to be. And I don't want to be in misery. I don't want to That's one thing that I know for sure. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to be miserable. I don't want to stress eat until a point where I look prego. I don't want to do that. And I think that like little detached part of myself said, okay, yeah, be that. You can be that. And then I just felt peace. Yes, I still felt physical pain from the bloat, from all the bloating. But emotionally at that moment, I was at this level of peace I had never ever experienced before. And it was peace, but there was also this kind of little, yes, this little inkling of, not inkling, like this little like hint of fear too, because that sense of peace was so heartwarming, and it was like, I don't have to be this pain. I don't have to associate myself with this pain if I just let it, and I can. And the fear was, okay, what if I just wake up tomorrow and I'm back to square one? You know? That was a little fear that I had, but also I was at this point where I was also able to like tell myself and stop myself. Okay, look, I know you're like a little fearful there, but you just had a little like breakthrough moment. So why not just enjoy this and you'll deal with that later, you know? I was feeling that woke, you know what I'm saying? I was woke as hell. And to my surprise, the next morning, I was still feeling the same level of, not so much the same level, but I was able to, it almost felt like that breakthrough was significant enough for it to become a part of myself at that very moment. I don't know. I mean, we're fickle creatures, so who knows? I might record this like as if I'm like gonna become a monk now, and 3 hours later, I'm like, guys, this guy that I like said that I'm ugly. Who knows? Who knows? But I feel like it's okay, Zoe. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Shh. It's okay. I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to forget this this little perception that I'm having about myself in life right now. A few weeks, a few weeks have passed, and I'm still comfortably lingering in this area of like detachment. And I've had challenging moments actually where it really tested my patience. It tested my newfound kind of tool, if you will, in dealing with life stuff, being human and all that. And it was hard. I found myself at times kind of getting swept away by emotions and impulsively checking my phone for something, or making stupid mistakes, getting too drunk, getting blah, 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 blah. But I still feel the same level of like detachment. If I just take a step back and just breathe and just remind myself, I'm not me. I'm not ever anything. I don't ever have to be anything. I don't have to be this anger that I'm feeling. I'm not. It's just my human self reacting in a human way to life circumstances. It's my human self reacting to other humans who are just as imperfect as I am. And it's okay to feel those feelings. It's okay. It's actually preferred that you feel those feelings. Let it out. Cry. Scream in frustration. Don't scream at your kids or your dogs or your husband or your wife or whatever. Scream into your pillow, but just let it out. Like, let yourself feel. But also don't think that's you either. You don't have to associate. You don't have to bake this anger or this depression, this loneliness into your whole identity. You don't have to bake it into it. It's just a human thing you're experiencing, and just observe it. It's not you. Just observe it. I don't want to, just as a way to wrap up this episode, I feel like I went into something very personally profound for me, but also I find myself like fearing what you guys would think after having listened to this, because this is this is a very like something, I think, for the lack of a better term, it's a very spiritual topic that I just covered. And I know that doesn't really sometimes sit well with people. For me, though, it sounds more like a tool that I just discovered, more so than this spiritual discovery. I can see how if there may be people who listen to this and say, okay, that's like, it's very like, ooh, very spiritual and like woo-woo shit. I can see how this could come across as that. But I think all I want to do by sharing this story is that I think I want more people to feel more of this peace. And I get a feeling that everybody has different ways of coping with your humanness in whatever way. You can have this like outlet where you go to the gym and you break a sweat, and you find yourself not being able to, not get all depressed and whatever. Physical activity might just be enough for you, but for those of you who are seeking something more deeply psychological and spiritual kind of endeavor in this all of like living with depression, I kind of just wanted to share my story. Everybody has different methods, and this is mine. I think I've just found my method. And it feels like a practice too for me. This whole like finding, I mean, this is, yeah, this is essentially mindfulness. You're mindful about, um, you're mindful about everything. It's just, I feel like this little story of me going goblin mode in my bed in contortion pose mode, and I think, and I have like a story. This whole story, I feel like it's like the first ever time that mindfulness has hit me with such impact that I am now fully convinced this is a tool that I know for a fact that there's something in there that's gonna give me this peace that I've been searching for, because I've experienced that peace. I've experienced it once and it was so good that I don't want to let it go. It wasn't like a drug piece. It wasn't like a piece that comes from like substances, you know? It was just this radical acceptance. Yeah. I mean, I feel like no words can fully describe the significance of it, because every word, I feel like every word in a language entails different cultural connotations or anecdotal connotations. It's, for me personally, like when I think of like radical self-acceptance, I think of kind of like toxic positivity stuff. And that's not good. The piece that I felt was, it was just, I'm not anything that I don't want to be. And there are times when I'm gonna be somebody that I don't want to be, but I can always take that step back. Breathe, be mindful. So yeah, this feels like a practice. It feels like a practice that I need to, like a skill set, a muscle that I need to hone into and really develop and train. But I'm invested. I'm 100% invested. I don't know. I think there's something in there, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. Maybe this, I don't know, maybe this story helps you in some way or another. Or I don't know. It wasn't really much of a funny episode, I guess. But this is I don't know, this felt just important to share, and I just wanted to just let it out there. And yeah, I hope you can I really hope everybody that I love, including you guys, could find that. At least feel it once. Just feel that peace, because it was something. It was really something, and it's life changing. With a little added exaggeration, it's life changing. So that's my little phone call ramble for today. Happy Thanksgiving, you guys, and I'll talk to you guys in the next call. Checking out. Bye.